Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday night gig app rodeo. Sean, Colorado rideshare guy. Everything Thursday night fun time. Yeah, we'll never have a name for this. I'm going to change it every week. But welcome, everybody. We do have some topics tonight for sure. Also some observations that, as you guys know and know me, I don't do drama. I don't, in fact, I don't respond to drama. I laugh at it. I think it's stupid. I think it's immature. And I think most of the time it's just literally to get attention. And, but we'll kind of, I make sure to not tag out people. That's just not my way of doing things. I'm working with lawmakers. I'm trying to make differences. I have made differences. And as I've mentioned before, those people wouldn't want to work with me if I started doing some of the crap most of these people do. Now, that said, there's a line where you guys need to knock it off. And I'm not talking about just me. I'm just talking about as a community. Like if you're out of content, man, work on it. I don't know. I don't know what else to say to you. But Sean, welcome. We're gonna have fun tonight.
Thanks, man.
I know that I think it was last week we ended on a very dark story, and I'm sorry, you guys. I was thinking about it after the fact. It was dark.
Yeah, and that's why mine was so dark this following week. It followed me over to this week. Now I know who to blame for it. Sometimes that's how this gig economy is, man. It can be ugly.
It can, but I remember I see Awesome Amy in the chat, and I remember even seeing her comment that said, like, dude, that's too dark. Something like that's too dark for even me. I can't handle this. And I was thinking, why did we end with this?
And that's actually saying a lot because she actually was talking about the stuff I was talking about on my podcast. And she's like, oh, yeah, bring it. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, I feel the same way. And if you notice, most of you probably have noticed, Sean and I don't like, no matter, people have their opinions on every person on YouTube. Whatever you think of Rideshare Professor, I feel like he covers the violence and what's going on in that realm a lot and very well. So, like, no matter what you think of him, I do think that is a place where if you want to at least see like the amount of how much it's done, go check out his channel. He drops like 4 videos a day. Half of them are like violence that happened the day before. And I'm not saying I'm saying that's what you're into. I'm just saying if you want to get a real perspective of how often this happens, because when Sean and I talk about it, it's something a little different. There's something that isn't just, and I know it's horrible enough. Like, oh, this guy shot this guy because he wanted a free ride or he wanted his car. Or, those are bad enough. But we've got this story right up in front of us to open with tonight. And welcome everybody in the chat. We'll give everybody a little longer to get in here. I see that I forgot to put us on LinkedIn, and we've been performing really well on LinkedIn, by the way. But we are on both YouTube channels, and we're also on X. X, if you guys want to chime in, please do. Again, on X, you guys have played with it. The times that we do get comments, those people know, but you just double tap the screen, and then if there's still no text box, tap it one more time. I shouldn't have to say all that, but that is what you have to do to bring up a text box. And you can comment. We will see it here. And again, we forgot to turn that on too. Running a little behind today, guys. My son comes home from college at noon tomorrow. He will be here like for lunch. I can't believe that in 18 hours, my son will be here eating lunch with me. It's so weird. Like,
poor kid. I mean, that'll be awesome.
Poor kid. But yeah, so I mean, I guess we'll start off with dark since we ended with dark. Sean went dark. My podcast this week, by the way, was not dark at all. It was and if you haven't seen it, guys, I've done a few with Expedite, but I honestly think this was one of the best dives we've done into it. I think a lot was covered. That's what I'll say. If you guys want to know about Expedite stuff, from a couple beginner things, most of you aren't, to some really advanced stuff and some of the new features, we covered it all. So go check it out. And you'll learn who the new Chris Barnes is. Her name is Carlin. And I had to get it. It took me a while looking at that name to get it right because I kept wanting to say Carolyn. But when we were backstage before we started, I said, like, George Carlin. She's like, yeah. And so that I just kept him in my head, like
There you
George,
go.
because that's hard. It's hard to look at her name and think that, oh, it is. I don't know. I've never heard somebody named Carlin. Like,
Man,
other-
she has anybody who hasn't seen that, you should go watch that episode. If it doesn't make you want to do expedite, they brought a lot of depth bringing her in with her background and what she's done.
yeah. And I even jokingly, you saw it. I even jokingly said, "Listen, we're going to give you a pass on the Uber thing. Like, that's cool." Because she's, if you don't know, the person brought in was part of the logistical team at Uber, and Uber Eats. But she also moved on to Viho and another B2B app where where her department was logistics. And as you guys know, I do a lot of B2B last mile work, and that's my space. So I was really impressed with them bringing her in, because I think that's the kind of people you need. Those are the people who understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
You can just plug anybody into a role, but
some of my best leadership lessons on how to be a leader came from working in really awful organizations.
Yeah. I guess there's some gas price talk going on. I don't know if you know Shane, Sean, if he's showed up.
No, I don't. I just saw that.
Shane's been around for a long time. He's in the Springs. Shane, if you don't know, and everybody else, Sean's handle is at CO Ride Guy. So just check him out. He's live on Tuesday nights. I almost did it in Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Check that out, Shane. You'd want to watch it because he's in your hood.
Yeah.
But is that what you're seeing too? $4.99 for gas. That's about what I see. I thought I saw $4.79 when I filled today, but
yeah, it keeps fluctuating really hard day to day.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what tomorrow's like. But
it's funny because $4.99 always tells me we're just trying not to be 5.
Not to be 5, but if
you are 5 at $4.89, dude.
Right. And don't forget that 9/10. Everybody always forgets the 9/10 that's on there.
But
rounding up, yes, that's $5.
Yeah. So we got this. And you guys, wherever you're watching this tonight, smack that like. It's free. And it gets us up in the algo a little bit. But so this DoorDash driver, we're going to start off with this DoorDash driver killed. This is crazy. Again, we wouldn't be talking about it if it weren't something random. But DoorDash driver shot and killed man in his way because he had stuff to do. That is the court document title to this. There was a festival. I think it was in Tacoma. It was at a speedway. The Lantern Festival
It was a Lantern Festival. I know that much.
In Post Falls. I think Post Falls this is the Spokane Review. Oh, maybe it's Spokane. Okay, so it's actually not Tacoma at all. It's the other side of the mountain range, but still. From the picture, you can see that there's a decent amount of people there. It's nothing like crazy. But without getting too far into the story, because this isn't the kind of stories we cover, this guy literally shot. There's always a story with this. I don't feel like getting into it tonight, but this guy, it is what the title says. He shot and killed a man because there was accounts from other people that are a little bit different from each other. So that's why I don't want to get too far into it. But why I wanted to point it out is because we've been talking about violence with rideshare, with delivery, with this, that, the other, and it's. We were mentioning how delivery's gotten just as bad as rideshare, if not worse. And
but
go ahead.
Here's this dude. He went and he called 911, turned himself in, and then quickly just said, "Yeah, I made a bad decision," and it was like I don't know, man. It was like where are we going as society? When somebody just is like calls 911, yeah, I had things to do, so I went and killed the dude because he wouldn't get out of my way. I think everybody agrees with that. He was blocking his way. And
TR, stick around. We are gonna talk about this.
Yes.
from a little different angle, but
So
we're going to
anyway,
talk about that. So, but yeah, I mean, dude, literally, like, to me, here, let's take the twist on this story. Like you just said, because he was in his way, maybe maybe the guy's doing so bad on DoorDash, he was just like, I'm just going to go to prison and get free food. Like,
dude, but really, I mean, that
we have to do
probably
it
tells you
lighthearted,
the
guys. I'm
story.
not laughing at it. I'm not.
But seriously, I mean, that tells you, I mean, where this guy was in his head. He had things to do, and I guarantee, yeah, he was trying to go, shit, I gotta get another order. I gotta get out of this crowd. You know,
Right.
he probably didn't realize what he was delivering to, and then all of a sudden his stress level escalates because it was probably a $2 no freaking tip order, and you know, and he's just trying to get it done, get out of there, not making any say this remotely acceptable. But I understand what got him to a stressful point. The rest of it we can't understand because that's not where our heads go.
So before we move off that story, I guess here's, and it doesn't even, the story doesn't even mention this, but I just wanted to ask Sean, why on earth? I mean, I get that they want the business, but we know that legislators are pissed. And guys, I mean, tonight we're going to touch on a little stuff, but we're going to be sticking in every week some legislation. And this week I have the expedite thing, but like every week I don't want to ever focus the whole episode around it, but there's a lot that's pretty much solidified now. We can start fully talking about it. But I want to ask about this because I get that they want some business, but why on earth do they not geofence these things and say you can't have delivery delivered to this thing?
Absolutely.
On top of the fact that this festival loses money when you order DoorDash. They need the money from the concession.
It's actually a great point. You can't go into a movie theater and order DoorDash, so you know why did they do that? But no, that's actually a good point about geofencing some of these high traffic areas. Number one, it reduces congestion, and yeah, from an economic stimulus standpoint, about from a local boosting the economy locally, yeah, you're going to feed a lot more people that way.
Well,
and it's going to be a safer environment, and that's the biggest goal right there, is create the safest environment that you can.
And the other thing is too, like, I mean, no matter if most of you don't do a lot of it, most of us have done DoorDash. I don't know, maybe you've moved away and you've got into your other apps like I have and other people have, but you still have it available. But I think most of us have at least dabbled in it, to say the least, and some people have done it a lot. But why do we need to take, like, I know this. I'm just going to present it this way. So if I'm going to, like, even Dick's Sporting Arena for a Rapids game, which is not too far from where I am, I know that if I have a DoorDash order, I can't get into the lots, period. So I already know every one of these drivers is breaking rules because they're going past security guards. I don't know how else to say it other than that's how real I'm talking about. They're going, the security's like, no, you can't go in there. And they're like, I'm just going around them. I mean, that's because their job will be, no, you can't go in here. And like, then you should have to stop right there at the security point, call your customer and say, come meet me. And if they're like, dude, I can't get that far. It's like, well, then tough, man. I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to give your food to the security guard then.
Right.
You know, I don't know what else to say because
exactly it.
Again, lawmakers, listen up. Quit screwing around with this crap stuff that you're screwing around with. And let's get down to the stuff that would make a difference and actually would look good for all of you too. Like, you guys are not, trust me, you're not looking good. And if you know, to like the aides and stuff that I talk to who might not watch this, but who do listen to the audio podcast. Okay. I'll say the same thing I say to them all the time. Like, listen, when you guys throw out trash bills, people are onto it now. And I'm not just talking about the drivers. I'm not just talking about the customers. The merchants hate the apps. You're losing business in your city. And when you do come up with your stupid solutions or the ones you're proposing, all the tiers of people, merchant, customer, driver, we all know it won't work.
Well,
right out of the gate. Sean, if you and I were shown 20 like headlines, here's going to be, we could say it won't work, might work, won't work. That'll work, maybe. Like, we would know right away which ones are like, no, dude, it won't work. And you've already tried that 8 times. You guys need to do your research.
Or it's just a bunch of fluff or it's redundant from some other thing. I mean, there were over 200 bills introduced during the last legislative session in Colorado. And I am so sick of looking at it. You know, I was only looking at 10 of them. And there's so much of that, Steve. They're doing it it's their own little version of, clout chasing. That's what it is for them, instead of making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, I know, but like, like, again, is imperfect, because as we move into Waymo here, we've been telling you guys for a long time. Sean rips him on his podcast. I rip him on mine. It's like on this and on his and mine, almost weekly, we have even if it's short, we have a little rip session on Waymo because they deserve it. They're making news, at least again, Sean and I don't rely on tradition, like legacy media. We're going to get to a little thing about that here too in a little bit, but we don't rely on legacy media. We're digging up real stuff that you guys probably want to hear. That's why people have moved away from legacy medias, because they're like, dude, forever. And you're not a right or a left based voter or whatever. If you're watching legacy media, people from all walks of life are walking away from it and going to social medias or other things where they learn to trust it too. They're not just believing out of the box. Some might, but they don't want it anymore, because they know that they are run by the left and the right. So, you can go to some and get the news you want. It's going to read exactly how you want it to. Right. I mean, I know some people who, if they see a story that they don't like the way it reads, they just keep going in the Google search until they find a publication they like, and it spins it enough, even a bad story, where they can then talk about it and go, okay, I can relate to that. You don't need to relate to it. The reality was the first one you read, or could be one of these things you've never heard of. So I don't know. But here we are with Waymo, and Waymo had the Austin hearing. And I was telling Sean this earlier when we were talking. I think we told you guys too, but this is insane. So in Austin, they have a hearing about Waymo, and the main concern was the buses for the Austin meeting. That glitch still isn't fixed. They don't talk about it. It might be in a better condition, but if you guys remember, they recalled some of the fleet, then they recalled the entire fleet to fix that. It's not fixed. And so Austin wanted Waymo in there. They weren't saying all AV companies. They said, Waymo, you in our hearing this date. They gave them like 10, 14-day notice. And Waymo said the first day. Normally, the gig apps would just not show the day of, and they would, surprise, we didn't show. Like, they'd be jerks about it. It's crazy that the very first day, they were like, we won't be there. The whole meeting is about you in that city. What do you mean you won't be there? Like, I was telling Sean, that should be, that should be an APB out to every cop, pull over every Waymo and impound it immediately.
Yep.
They're not legal to begin with. They're there on a trial basis, and their trial basis is, we're not going to talk to city council.
Right.
They're the ones who approved you, Waymo. And for those of you going, well, they get, and I know, I get this, I'm not dogging on anybody, but for those of you going, well, they get a lot of money from those companies, that's why they do it. Yeah, but like Sean and I were talking about, that's not going to fly anymore. This is the first year that's not going to fly. Come the midterms, dude, they're screwed, because you've screwed the driver. Maybe you got away with that, your constituents, that you just figured out, I'll live with that. But they know they're even though polling's never perfect, when you are a sitting person trying to rerun, or somebody running, those polling people for specific like state level stuff and stuff, they can be pretty accurate in what they need. And these days it's like, okay, well, so what do we need to do to still get these DoorDash money? well, we need to not do this anymore because you've lost the customers, you've lost the drivers, and the merchants are pissed and leaving.
Right.
So what do I do to get you can't take the money anymore, and you need to distance yourself from it, or else your political career is over now.
Right. Well, and that's actually one bill that they were trying to do something in Colorado about, was the lobbying. And I don't know what the results of that one was. So you just reminded me of another bill. I got to go look and see what happened.
So we have them skipping the Austin hearing now. And this was courtesy of Sue a few days ago. She sent it to me. Waymo has the same thing in committee in Philadelphia. Okay, well, so Waymo in Philadelphia is a no-show at City Council. I will post that link for you guys in the show notes after, because there's an audio clip I think it's 7 minutes on that news article, and that one's interesting because Philadelphia is doing something that I wish every city would do. They're pushing them back. They're pissed. They're very, like, I don't know how the Austin thing went. I can't find a read on how they felt about Waymo not showing. It should be out there, but I can't find it. But the Philly one's out there, and the Philly one's pissed. They're like, what are you talking about? We've given you permission to map the city. We've given you permission to do this, be here, do this, do this, do this. Even if there was money involved. With everything, there's going to be money involved. But even if there was money involved, whatever, we gave you these permissions, but we're telling you have to be here because there's too many problems. And they didn't show. Again, here's how I feel. I feel like every city should allow them their mapping period with a driver, because that alone is not a crime. They're not taking passengers. They have employees that they pay to drive these cars, employees that they pay to drive the cars. So, and they're just mapping the city like the old Google Map cars that would come through with the big satellite on the top, or the lightning rod, or whatever it was. But I mean, like, they're just doing that at this point, so no harm, no foul. But I think that when you want to start moving beyond that, even if it's going to be like in the Philly situation, they're trying to move it to a driver in the car supervising the autonomous, but able to take passengers. No, you guys, in my opinion, the city council in every city should be calling them out and saying, until you meet with us, you don't go any farther. Mapping is where it ends for you.
And they should, anytime the city council or the people, emergency services, want to meet with Waymo, they should, within a 2-week notice, be mandatory that they show up for a meeting. Don't care. This technology is too new. They need to have frequent collaborations with the stakeholders. And I don't mean they're stakeholders, everybody that's making investments. I mean the stakeholders within the communities.
Yeah. So what's up, Richard? So Richard's been a long time viewer of the podcast here. So the state needs to put an EV mile. Yeah, I mean, like, dude, the state needs to look. The state taxes us for everything, and then things we don't even understand. What's the ABC 4567 tax? We just made it up. That's just something you're going to pay us, and screw you. Like, so I mean, like, we the people get screwed. The robots don't. I think yes on this, and yes to add 100 more too.
Right.
I mean, it's more than just holding these companies accountable. You got to start busting them down. Like, you need to make it so that they need to really think, do we even want to operate right now? It's just too damn expensive. Even Google, who has the super trillions of dollars, you need to make it so that they are going, I don't know if it's worth this right now. Because we all know it doesn't work.
Well, that's never going to happen. But the thing is, they do need to pay their fair share, about particularly with damage that they cause, because the EVs, there was a study done about how much damage that they actually do to the roadways, because they have a lot more torque than regular vehicles, and a whole bunch of other things about the way that so they need to do a study to see what the impact, do an impact study and say, how much what impact are they? Okay, maybe they're not throwing, tailpipe emissions out, but they are causing causing harm and causing other negative things to the environment, and they need to be taxed appropriately for it instead of giving all these tax concessions.
I like this. When do, I think
Yeah.
he means when do the hell no Waymo shirts come out? Tomorrow, man. Let's get these things rolling, guys. Somebody make this, would you? Let's start making Waymo stuff. Sean was making it for a minute as a joke, just one-offs, but
I'll do it. I could. I
you know
literally
what
have
you
a
should
heat
do?
press
What you
sitting
should do,
right
Sean,
here.
is we should make kids shirts that we give out for free as promotion that just have a bullseye
Right.
on them and say Waymo on the front and back.
Waymo Target.
Just give them to all the parents and say, well, your kids are targets. So, because my point being, if you're not familiar with that analogy,
Yeah.
Waymo not only has a problem with police, fire, all that, and the school buses, but they actually have a problem with kids too.
Right. Now,
I mean, to the point where I've like questioned, do they hate them? Like, I mean, it's beyond just as a flaw. Like, I'm like, are they trying to kill people? Like, what's going on here, dude? You
know, something like "Stay away from me, I'm a Waymo target." You know, I don't know.
Torp's talking about the recall. We're just about to walk into that, and then I see they are recalling Waymos because they can't sense flooded roadways and empty I think one drove into the. So I think you're talking about the instance we talked about weeks ago in San Antonio that floated away. Now there's new ones floating away, and the whole fleet of them are like going to floods.
And there was one near a puddle. So what the hell, Waymo? So they're water adverse. We figured that much out now at this point, because now they're going to recall them so they stay away from water. And that video, the picture I showed, it was like stopped on the highway because there was a little puddle there.
What was the Tom Cruise movie with? It was like one of his first, if not his first, with Rebecca De Mornay. Risky Business. Is that it?
Okay, yeah.
Remember when I don't know why I'm thinking of this right now, but remember when he jumps the car into the water and they pull it out and the cop opens the door and all the water dumps out. And he's like, "Who's the U-boat commander?"
Because I'm sitting there wondering, how the hell is this going to be on topic? Okay, you put in pretty close.
But so, yeah, I mean, what do you think about this? I mean, again, they've been recalled so many times, but 3,800 robo-taxis recalled. What does it take to get these things off the road? It's not just standing water, guys. It's kids. They hit kids. They go around buses. They break laws. Blackouts make them go nuts. They kill pets. What's going on? What do we need to do? And Sean, what's your take from this 3,800 robo-taxis being recalled again?
And just add one more. They're 85 times more likely to commit a traffic violation based on,
they can't get a ticket. Now in California they can, but they can't get tickets.
The ticket is a quasi ticket. They can, and then they have to respond within 72 hours, but there's nothing financially punitive to Waymo, so who cares? They'll just use it for more data collection.
Well, except for
now the state.
It'll be interesting to see if they'll be able to bring it up. Like, remember the DMV thing that they had where they sued the DMV because they needed to keep their records private. We all know why. Like the 212 accidents in 16 months in Arizona, 72 were the fault of Waymo, according to the police.
Right.
However, no tickets were issued to Waymo. Right. So therefore they make it appear like we don't have any accidents. Yeah, you do. You have tons of accidents. And when you do it to scale, you have tons of accidents. So,
and that's the problem, is that they're comparing apples and oranges right now. When they go, "Oh, we have a 98% safety rating." No, you don't, because you're comparing 1 billion rides to 1,000 rides.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but yes, I mean, this is again, I'm sick of this because they've recalled, maybe everybody doesn't realize they've expanded markets now. So there's more out there. Their footprint is still very small when you do the big scale thing. But we've been saying this on here every week, every city that they expand to, there's going to be more problems. Clearly, even if it worked, there'd be more problems, but it doesn't work. So, I mean, how many recalls do we accept before the stupid even wake up and go, maybe these aren't safe?
I don't know. What was that Hungarian
Sean like me saying the stupid.
What was that Hungarian car? The Yugo. Remember the Yugo?
I love, man. I always talk Yugo, man. I love Yugos. I love them because they were like $4,000 cash out the door, or $3,000 or something.
Right.
And I always remember growing up in Michigan, dude. It was like one of the first stories that was like really tragic. I remember. I mean, again, this is when I was young, but one flipped off the Mackinac Bridge because of wind, and we hadn't had a car flip off the Mackinac Bridge in like 25 years. And this thing gets like a gust of wind and picked it up, flipped it into Lake Superior, and they were dead. You know,
that's so. I think Yugo has a resurgence opportunity to rebrand, to do a co-branding with Waymo.
I always thought Yugo should have a slider panel where your feet are, so you could turn it into a Flintstone car.
So you could do the Fred Flintstone pedal.
Like, I'm gonna save on gas, man.
Like little Fisher
Price. But I do remember those cars were like you could go in with cash and just buy it. Like that was the kind of,
right.
Not everybody, but they were. I remember they were the cheapest car I had ever heard of.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess there's a reason for that. So illegal accounts. Oh man, I love this because, as you guys might know, Sergio Avedian, senior contributor at the Rideshare Guy, host of Show Me the Money Club. He's been on this podcast several times. I've been on theirs. Sergio is a good friend. He helped us get transparency here in this state. He was part of that fight. He even flew out here for the town hall. Just good stuff. He had a sit down with CBS 2 days ago. And he sent it to me right away. And then I saw a few people who kind of have been like you make it out to be way worse, these illegal accounts, than it really is, talking about like me or Sean. And I always thought, man, how does your community not know to these creators? How does your community not know that there's illegal accounts everywhere? In fact, I think they do. I think that anybody's community knows, right. Dude, of course there's illegal accounts. I see them every day. So I think that the people who have said that not only aren't doing their research, but looked pretty stupid over the years by saying that, because I've been saying for 3 years, if anybody's ever said like, what's Steve doing saying the sky is falling? No, dude, I've been giving you guys real information that Luis brought us in, 2.5 years ago. Sergio and I jumped in on it. So shout out to Luis, Sergio, and even like me, we've put in a lot of work on that stuff. Steve. And I gotta, yeah. I mean, like and I would say as of lately, and not to toot my own horn, but especially me lately, because Luis did a huge portion. Sergio's been on it, but he just kind of backed off because he was in other things. But Sergio was the guy who did that interview with CBS. And then everybody thought, and this is what I was talking about earlier with legacy media. Everybody thought, oh, well, CBS put it out. Now we can say it's real. And I was telling Sean, I'm like, who on YouTube is wanting you to regurgitate a CBS article? I thought we were coming here to get real information because we're sick of the fake.
Right. Well,
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, man. But the thing is when mainstream media is picking it up, maybe they'll finally do something, Steve. So a lot of the efforts that you and Luis and Sergio, maybe they're finally starting to come to fruition. So thank you guys for pushing through with this, because that's what's going to
nobody stops me. You know what I mean? Once my head is in something like transparency, like we've won here, we're winning, we're starting to win in other states. Other states are not winning because people aren't getting involved. So I guess my point here is that you didn't believe that the illegal problems were this bad. You've been lying to your audiences. Some of you know who you are. I don't need to point anybody out. But there's too many of you lying to your audiences, by the way. I've always said I'm more than happy to help. You guys want information? I mean, I don't throw it away every time I'm done talking about stuff. I actually keep my stuff organized. I have everything. So if you need something on a certain area, right, I'm happy to help. Steve@ridesharerodeo.com. If you're a creator or whatever, and you want to make sure you're giving out real information, email me, because it just kills me when I see people just lying or being wrong about it. And that's what's been happening. Now this article comes out, CBS is like, yeah, they're everywhere. And like, before we get into this last part about that, I want to say that on Monday, when I do the podcast every Monday, because right away after he finished recording, Sergio and I are friends, he texted me, dude, check out this interview I did. I finally had my opening to talk about this. Well, Sergio is going to be my guest Monday on the podcast. And you can see he's been on many times. You see the title, Fraudulent Illegal Accounts Everywhere, because that's the truth. So to some of you who, put out a video yesterday because you thought, oh, well, CBS did it, we can talk about it now. I'm going to tell everybody right now, why don't you hang back a little bit and wait for the people who know what they're talking about to talk about it. Sergio and I are going to talk about it, and nobody can doubt that we know what we're talking about. If they do, they're lying to you again. That said, maybe we'll get Luis to drop in. Who knows? That would be an amazing threesome right there, because Sergio and I have a lot to say on it right now. I don't know if maybe Luis will pre-record something. Maybe we'll somehow bring him into it. At least we'll give him the shout outs and accolades, because he deserves it. This was not an easy road to go down, but I was by the way, I don't know, Sean, about you, but I was very proud of Sergio for this. And I was proud of him just being live on TV and sticking his neck out there like that, going, they're everywhere. This is crap. And CBS knows that. In fact, CBS ran a test, and I'll let Sean tell the test, because I have something to add to it that's a little different spin. It'll be a preview.
Well, so Monday, the interesting thing is they decided that they did an interview with a guy that ordered DoorDash a lot, because he's homebound, he's not able to, and he was saying, like he said, some exaggerated number, whatever that was, but his point was it was very, very high. So CBS said, okay, we're going to try this out. So they went and they set it apart, and they made like 8 orders. And then of those 8 orders, they had, was it 2 of them? Anyway, it was 25% of them.
2.
So,
Yep. 2 for certain. And again, when Sean's saying this,
on just quickly 8 orders, they got 2 of them. They got 25%.
But there's a bigger part, and I'm not even getting into the other thing I told you about that I'm going to say in a second. To that, I'm going to say CBS wouldn't even say they had to unless they were sure that those 2 were fake.
Oh, yeah. Well, but they went and actually said, look, this was supposed to be a woman. And then they showed the guy, he was masked, and said it was a young dark-skinned male. Yep. And so they were completely conflicting, and I don't remember what the other one was, but yeah, they weren't even close. So it was very apparent that these were either stolen, borrowed, rented, or whatever accounts, but they were not the authorized user of those accounts.
Yeah. And
which is totally different than what you're finding, because your stuff focuses on, I'm not going to take this from you.
No, here it is. Here's a little teaser, and you guys have already heard this from me, but here's a little teaser to some things Sergio and I will be talking about, because you got to realize that when Sergio gets those kind of opportunities, like when he had his interview with Dara, or when I can tell you that, like Harry, the rideshare guy, he kind of sticks to the program that they give him. Sergio tries to push that boundary. So those of you who think he's not hard enough in those interviews, he is being harder than they're allowing him to be. Right. And like, he's pushing a line. And I think there's been maybe even some bridges he's burned in behalf of the drivers, because he gets heated too. Right. But what he's not, he knows about it. But what we're going to be talking about and adding to the story is the TikTok accounts, because those are now the most, that is the most illegal accounts comes out of TikTok. He was only able to discuss the Facebook stories on this news. So they're like, okay, well, 2 of the 8 drivers weren't who they say they were. Those were from Facebook accounts that you buy or rent. And we'll get into all that too, because we'll have some prices. We're going to tell you guys all that you need to know. It'll be the book of all of it. And but what wasn't mentioned, again, it needs to be a slow rollout. There was no way he could have brought this up. And I think he needs to dive into it with me first anyway, because I've put a lot of time into this, is the TikTok. The TikTok is a bigger problem because in all reality, the 2 out of 8 means what? 25%. 25% of the drivers that these 2 reporters from CBS ordered 8 things, and out of those 8, 25% of the orders were delivered by illegal accounts. Okay. That we know of. Because on TikTok, you buy them in real time. Luis sent me these. He's sent me down this rabbit hole. I've still followed it to this day. They sell you real-time accounts and they slip your picture in. So in reality, and I don't think it was, but all 8 could have been illegal. At least another 2.
Exactly.
I mean, because those aren't ones where they can go, well, yeah, actually that does look like him. Yeah, because they slipped in a picture. That's the more advanced ones put a picture in there for you, so it's gonna match.
Yep.
And I don't know. You were talking about some stat. I don't know if you have it in front of you, but
yeah, I do have it in front of me, because this kind of even enhances enhances the whole thing. So while Steve and I were talking before the show earlier today, we were talking about this and that and doing some prep, and then I stumbled across a report I had not seen from TransUnion. Nice haircut, Steve. From TransUnion, everybody knows who TransUnion is, a credit agency, and they do, fraud alert and detections. Well, they do their own gig report, and I'm going to dig this whole thing, but nearly half, so 45% of the current or former gig workers surveyed said they have rented or sold one of their gig worker accounts. So this is implying people who had legitimate accounts, and then they break it down by demographic with the millennials and so on.
Yeah.
So for again too, and I'll share this with you, Steve, so you can maybe add that to your pile of stuff when you're working with the legislators.
The other thing is that what Sean's referring to again relates to kind of how Sergio did it. That relates to the Facebook market. Now they don't even. Dude, most of the people aren't even turned on to the TikTok problem yet. I mean, if they are, they're trying to not be. They're like, dude, it's enough that we're having to deal with this and have to. Like, this is no longer a choice. We have to. Let's try and get through the midterms without that TikTok stuff coming up. So I'm going to keep bringing it up every week, man. I'm going to pound it in their heads because they're going to have to deal with this. But so, yeah, I mean, I am blown away at the amount. Again, I was telling Sean, there's 152 million working adults in the United States, part-time and full-time. Okay.
Right.
That includes independent contractors, by the way, which are now over 70 million. We have a very weak workforce, to be honest. We used to be a lot stronger than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, literally, think about this. We don't even need to break out the independent contractor part. 152 million working adults, part-time, full-time. 8.5 million of those are Door Dashers right now in 2026. That means that DoorDash has more people working for it than, I mean, I haven't done this math, but I'm going to at least say it as 2 separate entities. They have more people than McDonald's, and they have more people than Walmart. They might have more than Walmart and McDonald's combined.
Right.
I'm not even kidding you guys. Like, I mean 8.5 million. I don't know if that's sinking in enough with people. Like, that's a chunk, man. That means it is the most That means it is the most done job in the United States.
Right.
DoorDash is the number one job or job that people do in the United States, which also means
collectively,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, which means also our unemployment numbers get thrown way off, because when you get unemployed from DoorDash, you don't know. We don't know who those people are.
Right.
They're not getting unemployment, so nobody knows. I mean, it is mind-boggling to me. 8.5. Why do we need 8.5 million Dashers? We're not even talking about gig apps. Dashers.
Right.
And that's Tony Hsu's number. I mean, if anything, he should be downplaying it. What if it's more? What if he's being conservative because of the illegal accounts? He's like, oh God, it's like 11. It's 8.5. Like, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't trust the guy at all. Like I say, all the gig apps have their issues. We need to fix a lot of them. Been working on transparency for years, and we're starting to get somewhere. But I always say, and I do stand by this, DoorDash is the scumbaggest of them all. Like, they just are, dude. Something's wrong at that company. Like 100% for sure. But anyway, our legislative term just ended. We had a couple bills on. I know that Polis had promised he was going to do, like, I'll sign that through if it hits my desk. And then I felt like nothing. Like, I even told Sean when he was on his podcast Tuesday, he's like, on Thursday we'll know. And I was like, I made a comment in Sean's video. I'm like, I don't think they're going to get anything done. I don't know. I
got a few things done.
Yeah. And I mean, I sent it to Sue too. I don't think anybody else has heard me talk about this, but we're going to talk about one. I think Sean's going to open up with the tamale bill, which I sent it to Sean.
That's what I was going to say, man.
Dude,
you commented on my, when I was talking about the legislation on my podcast on the other day, and then, and I mentioned something about you mentioned the Tamale Act, and and I'm like, I love the Tamale Act, man, because now I can get some, legal cottage food produced.
Yeah.
Tamales, burritos, tortas, and it's going to happen no matter what anyway. So, put some food safety requirements in there. I know you probably have a little different feel about this, Steve, but look, they're going to do it. They're going to do it anyway. So at least encourage doing it the right way. It's kind of like, with the whole marijuana thing, everybody was doing it anyway. So let's just legalize it.
What's the right way, though? Because here's the problem. I'm remembering 2021 and specifically Washington, D.C. There were people bragging about the fact that they were going to stores. We remember like there were apps about where toilet paper was and stuff like this. I'm going back to that era, guys. Like, that's where we are from.
Right.
There were people going into stores and buying, is it Tortino's or Totino's, whichever one it is, the dollar pizzas.
Right.
The really cheap pieces of crap. They would go in and buy all of them. They'd buy like 100. They'd buy them out, and they'd take them home and they'd cook them and sell them late night on DoorDash for $10 a piece, because DoorDash didn't even require an EIN number.
Right.
They just said, "Oh, you have a kitchen? Sweet." Just like no ID, no insurance, and no registration required for DoorDash. It is the most ridiculous platform I've ever heard of. I don't know.
I don't know.
My deal with the tamale thing is we live in the wrong state for this right now, is my thing, because this is going to be, and you guys feel how you want about this. There are going to be a lot of illegals using this. And I looked at how they're going to be checked for food inspections, and it's weak. It's weak ass. As somebody who ran a restaurant.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole cottage food.
No, but there's no drop. I read that there's no, but there's no drop-ins. That is not allowed in any restaurant in Colorado. Drop-ins are actually expected. You can expect to be dropped in. You will have a once a year one where they want to make sure a manager is there to talk to the person that's going to expect. But usually you get like 2-3 more that are just, I used to like have them at the bar, at like 9 at night on a Friday when we're packed. They knew they'd come down and be like, here, we're here to check. Like these people, these inspections have to be scheduled. That doesn't work for me because it's not the same thing that you hold restaurants accountable for. Even food trucks get spot inspected.
Right.
So why can you open up a kitchen and stick your hand in the food after you wiped your butt and stick your hand in the food and mash up the potatoes? Like, I'm sorry,
you have to
dude.
use a glove. Yes, you have to use a gloved hand now. Just that's part of the regulation.
You don't have to if there's no food inspector coming.
Well, and and to your point, that's exactly it. But for the people that do want to do it right, and that's what this really comes down to. Those people are still always going to do what they're going to do, Steve. The illegal trunk tamales, that industry is going to stay around no matter what. And I guess you can make an argument that now you can't differentiate from the legal from the illegal because of lack of inspection, so on and so forth. So that would be a valid point. But you know what? I have never got sick from a trunk tamale, but I've got sick from plenty of
now I feel like you're thinking
Wendy's.
They're all going to be tamales, dude. This is basically allowing, just so you guys know about this bill, it's basically allowing anybody that wants to open up a kitchen without any of the proper certification, preparation, cleanliness factors, none of it.
Steve, that already existed. The Cottage Food Act was done. This is an addition to it. So they're allowing additional egg sales, which they allowed under the old Cottage Food Act, and now they're adding burritos, tortas, and tamales to it. And so it really isn't this. This might
correct me if I'm wrong, though. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% up on the cottage law. I am familiar. But I think I know the inspection parts and stuff were the same. Yeah, that they're kind of a joke.
Correct.
But you had to have some documents in place about your business. This is now the Tamale Act allows illegals to open up.
So I didn't see where it says you don't have to, but once you took your food safety course and they give you a certificate, it has a number and has an expiration date. And I don't even know where mine's at because I haven't used it in so long, but that you're supposed to have that with you and display. It's a laminated card they give you from the county that you take it with. And so that was really the biggest requirement. And then your packaging had to have a particular disclaimer and things like that on it. So none of that's really changing. In fact, I was in an event this last weekend and this guy was selling some hot sauce. I pick up the hot sauce and I look and I set it back down and I'm like, you haven't taken your food safety course, do you? And you don't have your cottage food certificate, do you? And he's like, no. And I was like, I don't care because I've taken bigger risks in my life. I do ride share, so, but it's not going to change anything. This is all fluff.
Yeah. Okay. But so I do see Christopher Taylor's that they had the tamale bill 2 years ago. He's in Mesa, Arizona. And he says that he basically sees people running restaurants in their front yard.
Yeah.
I know Christopher well enough to know you know what? Christopher never bloats a story. If he's saying that, that's what's happening.
Yeah. I think places down here where they do that. They have their tamales, they have chicharrones,
it's called Pueblo.
They have, all kinds. They have agua de fresca. No, down here in Colorado Springs, even you can get your fruit juices. No, man, there's all kinds of good stuff down here on the corners.
Last week we had the Driven Dad. He's originally from Pueblo, and him and I have had some Pueblo jokes. It's fun to have Pueblo jokes when somebody's from Pueblo. You can't really do it without them here because it sounds like you're picking on a city. But when he was here, many times, he's been like, he was the one initiating it. Like, dude, Pueblo's a big problem. This is pre-illegals too. This isn't even about the illegals.
And Christopher kind of reinforces your point about, he said he saw several people running restaurants and he said that was thanks to the tamale bill that they had down in Arizona. So it actually encouraged that behavior. And I kind of said that before is now, I knew if I was buying trunk tamales before that they weren't legal. Now I don't know whether they are or aren't. I mean, I guess you can go rent a cottage food certificate pretty soon now.
Isn't it weird that like last week we praised California for something? I don't remember what it was. I think it was the being able to
They are.
do something about Waymos. And it's funny because here's Rick, who's in
Yeah.
California. Well, actually, Rick might be in Texas right now, but he's talking about California, which is a place he's lived. But so they're cracking down on the cottage food. Why is California stepping up some of these? Probably these this is how scary the midterms are, guys. Even a state like California that's how serious all this stuff is. People are going to lose their if you don't side with the people this time, which I know it sounds like what you should always do that. They don't. But if they don't side with the people this time and what's right, like with the Waymos and the eVTOLs and just kidding. But with all that kind of stuff, they're going to be out of politics. They're not going to be able to run for anything. I mean, so it's just weird to me that I think California is a little like worried. Because here's my point. I don't think that if we didn't have a midterm year, I don't think they would have done this.
And I say this sarcastically, but I was going to say, well, they're doing that because the cottage food producing that stuff takes water, and water takes away from AI data centers, so we can't have that. But realistically, it's got to be something as stupid as that sounds. The more I thought about it, I'm like, God, that's probably the answer. If somebody lobbied to try and make them go away because they were taking away their water for their AI data center or some other crazy thing.
I guess I would be okay with the Tamale Act if you had to have licenses, you had to have this, you had to be able to be surprise inspected, you have to have listed hours where if you're not open, that's considered a bad thing, like where they're looking at you like they do a restaurant.
Right. See,
I mean, again, maybe I just come from the side of fairness and America. I don't know.
No, I think you come. I think you come from Michigan, and I'm not saying this being an asshole.
No, dude, Michigan's the best state to come from, so of course I do. Red Wings. See, I froze Sean. I froze him. I was like,
you froze me. I know it keeps freezing all night, but I keep pretending it's not. But that. Culturally, and in a rural area, there's a ton of cottage food sales, both dark cottage food and legitimate cottage food sales. And so it really gives people an opportunity that do want to do it the right way to be able to have an easier entry point into it. But the illegal activity is going to happen no matter what. So,
dude, listen, I'll tell you this. I've been buying, like when I've been since I moved here, or I'll say since the early 2000s, because I was here before that, but at least since the early 2000s, because I used to do a lot of it in Michigan. I have done some fly fishing right outside Golden, going to Blackhawk, the area I'm talking about,
right,
going into the canyon there. So
into the canyon.
And dude, since the first time I've gone there, I have always bought beef jerky. That's some of the best beef jerky I've ever had in my life. The guys selling it out of the back of their truck. So I'm guessing that's the same type thing too. Now this is pre-illegal problems.
That's exactly.
So
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Beef is illegal because there's a whole bunch of standards that it just can't meet. Fall within the Cottage Food Act. So, see, you're part of the dark food goods.
It's so good though.
Welcome to the dark. I know.
It really, like, guys, like I'm telling you, like this is where I'm like telling you, like, I mean, obviously watch out who you're buying it from. Like try and read the room maybe, but like these guys make the best beef jerky. I'm just saying.
I do.
But where are we at with some of the other legislation?
That's where I was going to make one more remark, and I literally pulled this up. So I'm like, let's move on. But guys, make your assessment based on the quality of the sign. If it's a fresh sign, then either their old one, and you'll get to know your tamale vendors and things like that, and you'll know who the good ones are and the bad ones.
Maybe I'd even add where are they set up if they're not at a house, like if they're set up in public locations. There's some public locations I trust a lot more because I know that they are watched a little bit.
Well, there's a lot of strategy by that, because some places the city isn't where you want to set up, but if you can get right outside the county into the county, that's a lot of the strategy of how they do that. So you can identify who's trying to evade, all the other stuff with it. So anyway, but yeah, the Cottage Food Act, it passed. I'm happy. You're not. Moving on.
I don't, you know what? I'm going to be honest. I don't know that I'm not. I don't, at first, I think you can understand this. At first glance of it, with all the problems we have in this state, and I know other people in this country, in this chat, listening on the podcast, whatever, I know they're facing the same issue. They would hate this because they're like, dude, this is not the time for this kind of thing. And that's kind of my response. I'm not, if you can prove to me that it's a safe, legitimate thing we're doing and it's the right time. I feel like this is the worst time to do this.
Well, it is safe if it's done per the protocols. And again, that comes down to, to your choice. I mean, hell, you can go to a Wendy's and see they're not following food safety standards. So, but again, yes, they get inspected. So anyway, so the transportation, let's talk about some rideshare bills and some other safety stuff that's going on real quick with legislation. I'm just going to run through these, interrupt anywhere you want. Walk down on Colfax, grab a tamale and drugs and a hooker. Sue, have you been on Colfax?
Sue knows Denver, actually. She does know Denver.
Yeah, so. Obviously.
Because that explains it right there. But yeah, let's go into this. What else
when you're all this? But yeah, so there was a Transportation Network Company Discrimination Practices Act, and it passed. Whatever, I'm fine with it because it really just mirrors ADA, which came out in 1990. So I don't know why they felt the necessity to waste a bunch of taxpayer dollars and time to go through it, because it had to go through a third reading because they had to have amendments. But that passed, waiting for the governor's signature. So hoorah, there we go. No protection for any disabled workers that do rideshare, but anyway. So there's another new bill that everybody who does gig work in Colorado needs to listen to. They have now passed a law where you cannot stop in a bike lane, minus some other little provisions.
Unless you're a Waymo.
Pulled over by a cop.
Unless you're a Waymo.
No. Well, you're right, because
they can't. They're not going to.
Now I got to see how it's defined. How they can define that. But anyway, no, you can't. So, and I think we've all done it. I do it all the time with doing rideshare, particularly in Colorado Springs, the way it's configured. I've done it doing, DoorDash and Uber Eats. You stop in a bike lane really quick because there's just nowhere else without walking 4 million miles, because Colorado has become, they're building roads for bicycles, not for cars anymore. Which that's a whole nother podcast for another time. But so they've added to this, and there's more safety precautions. So don't stop in there. I think the fine's like $100 for first offense. So just be careful out there, guys. That one did pass, and the governor's already signed it because he was super excited about it. So
wait, before you move on, I do have something to add to that too. In Denver, there's the bike lane, and then there's like a car lane that is for parking on a lot of downtown streets that you can barely get the car in if you perfectly park without being in the bike lane. Now, another just quick tidbit, it doesn't have anything to do with it. A metered ticket in downtown Denver is now $70. Now, the worst part of all of this, I hate this. Remember when they used to put bags over meters? Like, this meter's broken.
Yep.
Okay. Now it's they're flashing red if there's no time left on them. But when you get up to them, sometimes it says this one's out of order on the screen.
Yep.
If you park there, you get a ticket.
Wow.
I was blown away. Like, you can get a ticket because you guys aren't fixing this meter.
Right. You're not maintaining the equipment. That's beautiful.
Let's move on.
I don't know. I don't use the meters very much down here in Colorado Springs, so I'm not sure what the protocols are. I'm sure they're the exact same. That it's
it's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard, dude. If you haven't fixed it, it's free.
That's the way it should be.
It absolutely should. If
That's the
your
way it used
product
to be
if
on
your
the old
product
manual
doesn't work,
meters.
yeah.
Right. That's the way it was on the old manual meters. If it was stuck there and 20 minutes left on the clock and wasn't ticking away,
I guess my other thing though was like, honestly, now that's why I brought up the bags. Bring the bags back. Put the bag on it saying no parking.
right.
At least
Yep.
do that. You guys can't trick people like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't
I see
say
them
out
use
of
them like,
order and you'll get a ticket. It just says out of order. And so like me, I would think, okay, cool. It's free today.
yeah. Right. It's like free on weekends. So anyway, that's what's going on with that one. The next one, this was kind of an important one to see where things were going to go. This was the 80-20 take rate bill that some people were stating that they loved it. They thought it was going to be great. To me, I thought it was the worst bill in the freaking world because, I kept saying rideshare drivers can't survive on 40 to 60%. How the hell do you expect Uber and Lyft and even Drivers Co-op, who lies to their drivers about giving them 80%, which they really don't? They can't even survive on it. They just tell you they do. So this bill ended up dying in the Senate committee and Transportation and Energy Committee. And so thank you, Senate committee members, for killing this thing, because it was going to be bad for Colorado. And it had enough no votes that it would, even if it would have passed, that had it gone to the governor vetoed it, which everybody expected he would have anyway, there wouldn't have been enough votes on it at that time to bring it back. So I think they just let it die because of knowing that was gonna be the future of it anyway. So
right.
That one, thank God, ding dong, the bill is dead. I'm only going to go over one more here.
I guess the one of the overall senses I'm already getting is kind of what we expected. Not much got done. They sure pumped it like, dude, look at all we're going to get done, and then it didn't get done.
Well, and even the stuff they got done, like the transportation, now they called it the Transportation Network Company Consumer Protection Bill. Went from rideshare safety bill to that word salad. It's all a bunch of fluff. And that one got passed. It's now waiting to go on the governor's desk. I did a long 10-minute video. If anybody's interested in hearing my exact reasoning for why this bill is so bad. And it's also mostly fluff, but it lowers the standard for some categories and makes it less safe for even minors, which that just outrages me, Steve. So yeah, they did now more harm than good. And yes, wasted a bunch of time, as you said, on all these ridiculous bills.
And again, the wasting time really upsets me, because we've been, especially as I got into this game and this niche, and I've been doing this kind of work with legislators, it sucks because I know a lot of them work very hard. And then I know a lot of them are like, they're calling it in. The term calling it in. They're calling it in. They don't care. They get to the final votes. They make it sound like they're going to make something pass. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute, I should read this. And they're like reading it during the ending hours. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like, that means you knew you weren't going to do it.
Or they're too damn busy running for governor to even show up and vote, which happened over 5 times for one particular person. Y'all can figure out who he is. And the others like Chris Richardson, he was there for 100. He's a House member for out in Kiowa, Lincoln counties, and Elbert County. He was there for 100% of the votes and voted on every single one of them. Didn't abstain, didn't recuse himself from anything. He voted on every freaking. We need more people like him. He's not running right now, so I'm not. But I don't care what your side is. If you're elected by the people, get your happy ass down there for those 120 days and go vote on stuff. So anyway,
dude, it's the same thing as when they go on break, like even federal. I'm always like, dude, they shouldn't be like, remember when we were, it was a perfect storm just recently. We had the Senate and the House, they're all going on break. and the airports are shut
Yep.
down. People are like in 18-hour lines.
Right.
I'm thinking, dude, you guys shouldn't, not only for safety reasons, A, you shouldn't be able to skip the line. B, you shouldn't be able to leave town.
Right.
Sorry. Stick around and do your job, damn it. Like, I'm sorry. I feel like those kind of measures would make them find common ground because they would want to get home.
So
I think
as
they
an
rely
interesting
too
side
heavily
note-
on that kind of stuff. Like, we'll just wait for the break.
Yeah, absolutely. As an interesting side note, and I don't remember who it was that was sponsoring this is federal level. There was a senator that put a bill forward that the Senate doesn't get paid when there's a government shutdown. Now, the money goes into escrow, so they still end up getting paid. And come on, we all know most of their money comes from, insider trading anyway, so it doesn't freaking matter. That's just small
or
money.
donations.
But at least there's somebody. Yeah, but at least there's somebody out there trying to do something to make it a little painful, maybe for at least the senators. So, and that passed.
Yeah. Drone, I agree fully. Yes, they should have to stay until their work is done.
Absolutely, Drone.
And then I had one more thing on super PACs, but we kind of,
but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to bore anybody else with any more
here's what I will say. Did anything in the legislation, before we move on, did anything pass that's noteworthy? Like, wow, they did this, or is there just?
Yeah, the rideshare.
I mean, is there anything like that
lowered the threshold
that we didn't mention yet that you're stoked about?
No, there's not that I'm stoked about with any of this. No. Then the Tamale Act, but I already mentioned that.
Question, man. But I was going to talk about super PAC money. We'll probably save that for next week. I'll find a way to build that because I feel like we already talked about that a little. I do have one last thing, but before we go there, I want to bring up this because Derek had just dropped in. So Derek's saying that today Uber told him one passenger rated me 4 stars recently for communication issues, but Uber doesn't tell me which passenger. Derek's been doing this for a long time. He's up here in Denver. But I mean, like, when did Uber start reaching out about 4 stars and telling, yeah, you have a communication problem? Really? Because it's still 4 stars, asshole. Like,
right.
I mean, I didn't even know that they did for 1 star.
Every once in a while, I don't see, this is that passive aggressive, keeping you, a passive aggressive narcissistic behavior we get from these apps. That's what that is.
I know, but like, I guarantee you, they're not sending you every time you get a 4 or a 3 star. They're not going, you got a 4 star, you got a 3 star. And here's why: communication issues. So I'm feeling like it's like the same thing they do for the passenger. Like, the passenger lied probably about Derek, made up a whole BS story to get a free ride, and rated Derek probably a 1 star. Uber turned it into a 4 star for him and said, hey, there was a communication issue. Just know that. And Derek's asking, how would I know who did it? The point is, you might not. The guy might have been extremely nice to you. Right. This is the mentality of people now. Like, I need this ride for free. I don't care if you get fired.
And that is a huge, huge problem, Steve. And that's going to be a problem with that rideshare bill that passed, is because now if you get hung by one false allegation on one app, you're going to get hung on all the apps and not be eligible to drive. So anyway, I digress back to the legislation stuff. But yeah, Derek, sorry that happened to you, man, because it's just
he's been doing it for years. Derek is a veteran gig worker, and especially a rideshare driver. He knows what he's doing. Like, this is not, and again, aren't we independent contractors? Shouldn't you be putting the person in touch with Derek? Listen, I get it. I remember, if you guys don't know about this, I remember when people were during the pandemic, once the things opened up a bit and people started traveling a bit, there was this big ring here in Colorado and Denver, but it was in other cities too, where Uber drivers were picking you up. And if they were picking you up with luggage, they were letting other people know, this house is vacant, rob it. And people were getting robbed after the Uber ride if they took them to the airport. And there was this whole thing in Denver about how people were like listing their neighbor's address when they were calling for a pickup. You know?
I was going to say, I bet you know who it was. And
but that's not a communication issue. You communicated to her clearly. Put that out, idiot. You know, I don't know. With all the things we see about drivers,
I got,
like remember the driver that let out the blind person in the middle of a road? I don't even remember the story too well, but it was like a year ago. Like she was pissed. They were going off on him. He's like, "Get out!"
Oh, right.
He didn't even pull to the curb. He was like, he left her in traffic. She was blind. Like that's a story. Derek telling somebody to put a vape pen down is not a story.
Right.
Shut up, Uber. Like, but here was the last thing I did want to hit on. You even talked about it on your podcast this week, static versus dynamic pricing. And then we're not going to go too deep into this. I just wanted to present something because you got me thinking. And I already had a Guardian. I don't know if you were using the Guardian article on it. That's the one I was looking at because it also had dropped recently. And I actually have my own take on this because people were saying, no, you got to have dynamic or else we can't make money. No, it's got to be static. Listen, here's how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm down with the dynamic. Hear me out because I said I kind of put it out there as I wasn't, but let me clarify. I'm down with the dynamic pricing during surging, during tough traffic hours, things that are going to slow you, the driver, down. But it's kind of a mix of both. If you're going to do the dynamic, it has to be a set static percentage that the driver gets. Because then the driver makes more when the app prices out a ride more. But see, when it's dynamic for the driver, when it's dynamic for the customer, you don't know what portion you're getting.
And that's a great point, Steve, because to me, and that was what I said on my podcast, the easy way to fix this is just go back to a freaking rate card, time and distance. So if it takes you longer to get there, then you're going to get paid more. They're going to get charged more. Again, that right up front. Now, you may not know that there's a traffic jam or something, so it's going to take longer to get there. But they've taken this and they've complicated it so badly that we almost just have to go back to a rate card and start over. And yeah, I do think that there are some circumstances and situations, inclement weather. I think drivers need to be paid more because they're taking a higher risk. I don't want to call it hazard pay because that's an overused, thing. But but a weather condition payment of something, that would be appropriate. But there was, by the way, now I'm going back to legislation stuff. There was a dynamic pricing bill, and it did pass in Colorado. There's only, I try to say for quick, but there was only one mention about delivery and distance, because somebody told me that that it now applies to ride share and to food delivery. I didn't find anything in it. Doesn't mean that it didn't, because I did just skim through that bill, but they are trying to stop that kind of what they call surveillance pricing here in Colorado, and they did make some headway on it, but that applies mostly in the grocery stores and such.
So before we leave that topic and before we wrap up tonight, first of all, guys, I'm going to put up a banner here. And again, Sean talked about a 10-minute video he dropped. Go over, give it a watch, give it a like. Don't even watch it if you don't have the time. If you're working, you're like, I just don't have the time. Go over and watch it. Just let it run for 5 minutes and hit like.
Let it run.
Give him some love, dude. But check out Sean at CO Ride Guy on YouTube. But I do want to hit on that one last thing about so I'm going to use the co-op, and I'm sorry to do this co-op. I don't know you, but
I'm not.
I know Sean well enough to know that I'm going to believe what he tells me because I've read enough, and I always question what you were doing. And honestly, this isn't even a diss session. This is just truth. I don't think I'm pretty sure you guys don't know what you're doing. Sean has said that straight up, but like, I don't think you know what you're doing. I think it's pretty apparent. Like, you thinking that you can operate at the 20% cost rate and 80% to the drivers. That sounds great to us.
Yeah.
However, we've seen that tried. Yes, that worked for Uber, but Uber was losing money hand over glove. They were trying to populate the markets when they did that. It doesn't work.
Correct.
You can't do 80-20 to the driver in 2026. So my point becomes, you know, the co-op's already, like, in my opinion, they're on some really bad ground. Like, they could fold real quickly here. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
They could lose. They could literally lose their app overnight, and then they are out of business because they have an MOU.
Yeah. So, you know, but here's my thing. If Uber went to a 60-40, now we know that Uber has been known often to take more than 50 even. But if they went to a 60-40 split, let's just say that for a minute. Hell, let's say 50-50. I'm not down with it, but let's just say it. They don't deserve 50, but let's say it. Don't you think that they would work their asses off to make them more money and make you more money at the right times when it's more money? Like an event's letting out. I don't want to go to the Pepsi or to Ball Arena and pick up somebody. I know how that goes. I don't want to go to Invesco and have to find somebody. I've done that. Sometimes they're drunk. It's taken me 4 hours to get them to the right street.
Right. That's why you don't take those rides, and you learn those.
But if you allow the surge, and we're on a 60-40 or even a 50-50, I don't like it. I'm just using it as an example. We, the drivers, would be better represented by the rideshare company. So who I say this to isn't the co-op. It isn't Uber. I'm telling Lyft, before you go out of business, try something, because you're on the edge of going out of business. Like, you're stocking and holding. I mean, it's holding. And you pretend you have fake PR like they all do, that you're doing great and you got all these ideas that are going to change the world. You don't. You're not. But try something like this. Try something like, you know what? We're now giving the drivers 60%. We keep 40%. And then make sure that you have enough money to run your company based on the 40% you're taking. And that would make the drivers make a lot more money. But it would also make you stay in check with making sure that you're competitive enough to be getting these rides out.
Right.
But I can tell you this, I would rather pay a few dollars more for a Lyft, which I don't even use anymore, than an Uber if my driver was getting 60%. And even during a surge, I knew that, because I can tell you this, I will have, maybe not right away, but I bet you money we would get back to, on that Lyft side, we would get back to clean cars, people who care about their passengers, start like talking to you again, not just being pissed off all the time, because not at you, but at the company. I just think, dude, like, Lyft is the one to do it. Lyft, you are dead in the water. You are screwed. You're done. Try something.
Yep. And you're not wrong, Steve, because, as a former co-op driver and much deeper involved in the co-op, that was a common thing that they still hear from passengers, is that they believe in the cause. They don't, as long as they're willing to pay more, even though they're still typically paying less, they're willing to do what they got to do, to help build a better platform where drivers are getting treated better. And so they know, as a passenger, they're going to get, getting a better car. And that is one thing I will say about a lot of the co-op drivers that I met and had the opportunity to work with, is, man, there's a group of them that they're the most committed people in the world. And for that, I hope the co-op still succeeds. But unfortunately, there are just too many obstacles and too many other variables that hopefully they can, hopefully they can overcome, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. And then I wanted to put this up. I'm sure you saw it, but
I did. Thank you too.
Hey, you got a new fan, man. I saw him in your chat even on Tuesdays. So
yeah.
Hey everybody, like we are just, look, we're in overtime, and we didn't even get to all the stories. And I was putting this together kind of quickly today, even though I had some things in my mind this week, but with my son coming home, I've just been running rampant. We still could have gone more time. So like literally, this is not ending. And to all the content creators who steal content, there's a lot in here. Go through it. And if you are going to steal this content, make sure you watch it properly. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you feel free to email me, steve@ridesharerodeo.com. I'd rather you put it out correctly than just steal it and think, well, you know what? I'm just going to regurgitate this, because usually when I hear it, you guys aren't right. So I'm just saying that's just
you bring
a general
up a great
comment.
point, Steve. But the reason is because doing what we do is hard work. And I've not been doing this very long. You all know that. This is just both my show notes and research. That's not even all of it, but it's my pile that I have going behind me here. After I'm done with the show, it goes into the pile, unless I'm going to pull it out and research it. And I do have some of that still. So that's the reason, Steve. They want to get caught up in all the crap, and not do the work. It's hard work being being an original creator.
My Monday episode was episode number 575.
Nice.
That's speaking. You guys that should make some kind of sense to you, because what Sean just showed you, you guys know that I do that kind of stuff too. I used to do all my stuff handwritten. I used to have like the bound, like notebooks, like school notebooks, and I used to do it all that way. Like I had all my notes. It was crazy, dude.
Did you write in cursive? Improve your real Gen X?
I actually did. You know what? I get weird when I'm like writing on the fly, and when my hand gets tired, I turn to like block writing.
That's
capital
the way I've
letters.
That's the way I've always written. Teachers hated it.
Yeah. I mean, dude, cursive is dead. Come on. Cursive is left.
Right. Cursive, Sears and Roebuck, and Lift. Okay, the list builds.
Anyway, you guys, we love you guys showing up here and supporting. Tell your content creators not to wait. Other ones that you like, tell them not to wait till mainstream media puts out an article. We've been talking about something for 3 years, and we've been showing you all the proof, and they're like, no, that ain't real. Okay. You know what? All of a sudden, you guys thought it was real when CBS put an article out on it yesterday, or did an interview with Sergio. And on that, I would say, before we leave here, again, one more time, in case you missed it, guys, on Monday, because of his interview and because we want to get this straight, we don't want these people who make stuff up screwing it up, Sergio and I will be breaking down for you all of the fraudulent, illegal accounts everywhere. That's right. Sergio, the senior contributor over at the Rideshare Guy for a long time. In fact, I would consider him the main guy over at the Rideshare Guy. Most of you know Sergio, and if you don't, I would say that no matter what, don't miss Monday, because we're going to lay it down, and that's where all the content creators should come to steal their content. That's going to be, but bring your notes, get it right. Don't get it wrong.
That's a problem too.
Yeah, that's my main problem. Like, I mean, stealing content is a weird thing, because how can you really do that? But like, I think you said it properly and showed it. I know a lot of other people that have been doing it for years. They don't have that much information on everything they've ever done.
Right.
I know some who read headlines and tell people, and they have audiences. They tell people the whole story from a headline. Wake up, guys.
Yep.
And again, I'm not even dogging the creators. I mean, I am a little, but I'm not doing it by name. That's not my style. But I'm telling you guys, the audience, make sure you tell those other creators, hey, why don't you be straight? It's time. It's time, guys. Like, things are coming out. They're going to start saying that, oh, look, it's real. We've been saying it's real for 3 years. They've been saying, no, you're wrong. Well, we're not wrong. We've been right for the entire time. So
we got one question I want to address. When was the last time I was on the road? It was about 2:30 this afternoon was the last time. I go out there and grind every day, TR.
Yeah. Sean's out there every day. Wait, I'd have a last question. You're not on with any co-op anymore.
It's okay.
Well, I mean, you haven't taken one. recently, have you?
Well, it was just, when was the last time I was out on the road? I don't know if he meant co-op. I just thought
No,
he
no,
meant in
I'm
general.
asking you about co-op.
Oh,
Because I mean, like, as far as I last know, they didn't ever deactivate you.
So not, in fact, I'm still getting, I'm about ready to do a video that says, did I join a cult? I sent an email. I sent an email trying to settle my account and my membership with them, which they sent me that information. But my fish tank is real.
Well, Gigwise Outdoors does a live stream of a fish tank at night because his hours dropped. He used to have a channel that had all the hours he needed. Now he's trying to get them back. So you guys go watch his fish tank.
Get them back, yeah. We'll do that. I'll put it on for sleeping. But dude, I cannot. I'm getting text messages still telling me to vote on an item. They have an item that they're trying to vote on to reduce the. This is an interesting one, but we're still going too far into the weeds here. But I'm doing it anyway because you asked. They sent me a text message and an email telling me to vote on an item to reduce the number of people that it takes to have a quorum, because they can't get enough interest from the drivers to have a quorum and they have to have 20%. They want to reduce it to 5%, and they keep every day, vote, vote, vote. So they're clearly now getting enough votes on an electronic vote, but they gave me the opportunity to vote after I already denounced my citizenship, or whatever the hell you want to call it, from this cult. And they won't leave me alone. It's worse than Transcape Scientology.
Oh man. It's, sorry, co-op. And again, all the jokes we make, a lot of that is to make some lightheartedness. Again, co-op, you are welcome to come on the podcast. And Sean even said, if it's a Sean thing, you can come on mine. And I won't attack you. I don't do that. And you can go look at any of my, in fact, I had to tell somebody the other day, what drama do I do on my channel? And I was like, go search and tell me what drama I do, because I have 1,400 videos up. And I was like, oh, right. None, right? None, 0. That's right. So my thing is like, co-op, I think that it would be to your advantage. Come tell your story. I'd love to hear it. I've asked you guys on before. I've had, way bigger CEOs and things on than the co-op. I don't know, even before Sean was on this show, I don't know why you weren't responding to him. I don't know what, I got to be honest with you guys. I felt like you didn't want to come on because you didn't want to talk about some stuff.
Well, they want to talk about the feel-good things. They don't want to talk about the business.
That's a problem.
That's all they want. Well, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, check out Sean. Like he said, he dropped a video. I know he does his lives too. You should subscribe and check out his lives. Because he's real out there too. But I don't know how many videos he's dropped, what we call the long form, which just means, anything like over 6 minutes, 8, 10, whatever. But like he has shorts too, but like go watch the long form that he just did, because those help the channel. That's what YouTube wants. I don't even do enough of the long form. I need to get back into that. But like go give him some love, because I think you're coming up close to 100 subs. And as much as I know you've been grueling to get there, I know people who it took a lot longer to get to 100 subs than you.
I'm at 89. I lost one.
TR gave up on you already. He's like,
it was probably one of the co-op people.
But you guys, if you're in this chat and you haven't, go sub to Sean. He's 11 away from 100. Let's get him there tonight. Let's see if by tomorrow morning he's there. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? Let's do that.
That'd be really cool, but I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get there.
I know that. Listen, even on the replay, guys, like I'm not the audio podcast listeners. The audio podcast is my most listened to. I get around 4,000 downloads a week. They won't come and sub to Sean. They won't, and it's nothing to do with Sean. They just hate YouTube. They hate it.
And you know what? But like we talked about, Steve, is like, Podbean, who you do a lot of like other live things on, that's my biggest downloads. And I'm averaging 50 downloads a week already with just dropping 14. It was at 14 episodes. I was already getting 50 downloads a week, and I've had over 500 downloads. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't ever think I'd get 100 downloads, let alone now getting 50 a week now. So guys, thank you so much. You guys are all 100% of, the success and what drives me to keep going with this. And, I blame Steve. So if you don't like what I have to say, blame him, because he's the one that talked me into doing all this madness.
Yeah. But you love it. And I see people like Tim Gigwise is saying, drop the links. Is there a link? Yeah, I just dropped it, guys. It's right there. It's up on the screen. That's it. You can click it right from the chat right now. So go in there, give it a click and a sub. That's how easy it is. And until next week, that's a wrap. Until next time, stay safe, be smart. Tell the content creators out there to pull their heads out of their asses and start like knowing what they're talking about. And you guys know there's too many of them that do this stuff. And it's just not a time for it anymore. Things are getting fixed. We don't need misinformation. So with that said, have a great night, you guys, and be safe, earn smart, and have a great week. Peace.
Good night, y'all.
Oops. And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. Bye.